Honey badgers are not just fearless, but astonishingly clever.
Here we have a python doing pythony things to a honey badger. There's a big bastard in the background that's decided to stay out of it. He's enjoying his plant-based diet.
Florida has always been a magnet for strange wildlife stories, but one recent claim pushes the limits of belief. According to Whispers Online, the state secretly released hundreds of honey badgers into the Everglades to battle its exploding python population. At first glance, it sounds like another wild internet hoax, but reports of claw marks, shredded snakes, and closed-off marshlands have left some wondering if there's more truth behind the rumor. Could this bold, hidden experiment really be Florida's ultimate gamble to reclaim its wildest frontier? The python problem unfolds. Florida's Everglades have become ground zero for one of the most dramatic ecological invasions in modern history, the unstoppable spread of Burmese pythons. These massive snakes, brought unintentionally through the exotic pet trade, began appearing in the wild in the 1980s. Occasional sightings soon turned into an environmental crisis as the snakes found the Everglades' warm, wet landscape perfect for breeding and hunting. Today, tens of thousands roam southern Florida, their population growing faster than control efforts can manage. The damage to native wildlife has been staggering. Populations of raccoons, rabbits, and other small mammals have dropped by over 90% in some areas. Pythons prey on nearly any animal they can overpower: deer, birds, turtles, and even alligators, upending the balance that once defined this ecosystem. Their dominance has rippled through the food web, threatening species that depend on the animals they consume. What began as a regional concern has now become a national environmental warning. Tracking and managing pythons has proven nearly impossible. They reproduce quickly, go months without eating, and disappear into thick vegetation or deep water. These snakes can live for decades and reach lengths exceeding 18 feet, making them top predators without rivals. Capturing them is like chasing shadows. They blend into the landscape and vanish almost instantly. The Everglades has become a living experiment in what happens when a foreign predator takes hold with no natural enemy to stop it. The crisis extends far beyond the snakes themselves. With native animals gone, the Everglades food chain has shifted. Birds lose nesting grounds, amphibians lose prey, and plants suffer when seed-spreading mammals disappear. The long-term effects could reshape the ecosystem for generations. Despite years of warnings and countless removal programs, the invasion remains largely unchecked, forcing officials to consider more drastic measures. The battle has also stirred public and political attention. Events like the annual Python Challenge attract thousands of hunters, eager to help. But even as hundreds of snakes are caught, scientists say these captures barely make a dent. The pythons breed faster than they can be removed. Most experts now admit eradication is impossible. The species is here to stay. That reality has pushed some to search for new, unconventional answers. Economically, the consequences are serious. Tourism tied to the Everglades, birdwatching, fishing, and wildlife tours depends on biodiversity now slipping away. As animals vanish, so does part of Florida's natural identity. Still, strange clues have begun to surface. Claw marks, disturbed nests, and odd animal behavior hint at something new in the wetlands. Rumors swirl of a hidden ally entering the fight, an idea that, if true, could change everything. The line between invasion and hope blurs as Florida confronts a crisis that tests the limits of wildlife management and human imagination. Failed containment efforts. For decades, Florida's wildlife agencies have tried to slow the Burmese python invasion, but progress has been minimal. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission created bounty programs and public hunts like the annual Python Challenge. Thousands of participants wade through swamps and marshes armed with snake hooks and flashlights, catching hundreds each year. Yet the population barely declines, revealing just how resilient and elusive these snakes are. Technology has become central to the fight. Researchers now use radio telemetry, GPS trackers, and drones with night vision to locate snakes hidden in dense wetlands. Judas snakes, fitted with transmitters, lead hunters to breeding sites. Environmental DNA testing also helps detect python traces in water. Despite these tools, the problem continues to expand. The efforts slow the invasion but cannot stop it. The python's biology gives it a natural advantage. These snakes can lie motionless for hours, glide silently through water, and hide deep in vegetation. They can fast for months and reproduce rapidly. Females lay up to 100 eggs at a time. For every python caught, dozens more hatch unseen in remote corners of the Everglades. The landscape itself adds difficulty. The region's vast wetlands and tangled sawgrass form a natural fortress. Many areas are unreachable, and even dedicated hunters can cover only a fraction of the terrain. Hidden breeding pockets remain untouched, giving the snakes endless safe zones to multiply. The work also takes a psychological toll. Long hours in mud and heat, searching for an invisible predator, leave hunters exhausted and frustrated. Many describe the experience as a mental battle. Every sound could mean danger. Over time, the struggle has created fatigue and doubt among officials who see little progress despite enormous effort. To the public, the Python Challenge has become both an awareness campaign and a spectacle. Social media is filled with videos of massive captures, turning the crisis into entertainment rather than a solution. For many, the thrill of the hunt hides the harsh truth. Pythons reproduce far faster than they are removed. What began as an ecological emergency now fuels viral fascination. Scientists now accept that total eradication is no longer possible. The goal has shifted from elimination to control and containment. Once an invasive species grows too large, experience shows it cannot be reversed. Florida's pythons are here to stay. This grim realization has prompted quiet discussion of new ideas. Could there be a natural predator capable of challenging the python on its own ground? Once unthinkable, this question now lingers as Florida continues its exhausting battle for ecological balance. The search for a new approach becomes a crossroads where frustration pushes the boundaries of traditional thinking. Sometimes, nature's answers come from the most surprising places. Honey badger's fierce reputation. Among the many wild ideas inspired by Florida's python crisis, none captured public imagination like the thought of honey badgers as natural snake hunters. Native to Africa and parts of Asia, honey badgers, Mellivora capensis, are famous for their fearlessness and strength. Viral videos showing them attacking venomous snakes like cobras and puff adders have drawn millions of views, earning them a reputation as nature's toughest fighters. This reputation has real roots in biology. Honey badgers are built for combat. Their thick, loose skin lets them twist and bite even when grabbed, and their strong jaws and claws allow them to dig up burrowing prey. They also have some resistance to snake venom, an adaptation gained through generations of exposure to dangerous reptiles. When bitten, they may be stunned for a short time, but usually recover and continue fighting. One reason they're seen as nearly indestructible. Beyond snake battles, honey badgers are intelligent and highly adaptable omnivores. They eat rodents, birds, reptiles, insects, and carrion, surviving easily in tough conditions. Farmers in Africa often call them pests because they raid chicken coops and tear into beehives, showing their determination and problem-solving skills. This toughness has fueled the belief that they could thrive in Florida's wilds and naturally hunt pythons where humans have struggled. However, experts caution that honey badgers are not true snake specialists. Studies show snakes make up less than a quarter of their diet. They usually prefer easier prey. Their bold and curious behavior could harm Florida's native wildlife even more than the pythons. Ground-nesting birds, amphibians, small mammals, and turtles, already stressed by habitat loss, would likely become their new targets. In the fragile Everglades ecosystem, this could cause severe and lasting damage. History offers grim warnings. The cane toad in Australia and the mongoose in Hawaii were both introduced to control pests, but ended up destroying native species and upsetting entire ecosystems. These lessons remind scientists that one problem predator should never be traded for another. Releasing honey badgers could create the same kind of disaster, replacing one uncontrollable species with another even harder to manage. Practical issues make things worse. Honey badgers are famous escape artists, often compared to Houdinis of the animal kingdom. They can dig, climb, open latches, and even work together to escape enclosures. Zookeepers worldwide tell stories of them stacking tools or rocks to climb out of pens. Containing them in the Everglades' vast wilderness would be nearly impossible. Still, the idea refuses to fade. It lives at the crossroads of science, speculation, and hope. To many, the honey badger has become a mythic figure, a brave creature fighting the battles people cannot. Viral clips of them defeating snakes keep the fantasy alive, turning biology into legend. As the Everglades continues its struggle against pythons, the story of the honey badger lingers between truth and imagination. Whether nature has already found its own hidden way to fight back remains a mystery, one that may never be fully uncovered. The balance of power in Florida's wetlands may hinge on forces both wild and unexpected. Ecological risks of new predators bringing honey badgers into Florida's Everglades might sound bold, but experts warn it could cause a disaster worse than the python crisis. The Everglades is one of the most delicate ecosystems on Earth, a vast mix of wetlands, mangroves, and cypress forests where every creature has a role. From tiny insects to large alligators, all depend on a fragile web of life. Adding a fierce new predator like the honey badger could destroy that balance. Honey badgers are fearless hunters and eat almost anything: snakes, rodents, birds, and turtles. They would not stop at pythons. Instead, they would prey on native animals that have no defense against such aggressiveness. Species already at risk, like the Cape Sable seaside sparrow or the wood-stork, could face new threats, pushing them closer to extinction. The Everglades, already weakened by pollution, habitat loss, and climate change, cannot afford another disturbance. Their behavior adds more risk. In their native lands, honey badgers raid farms, tear open beehives, and break into chicken coops. They are smart, persistent, and hard to contain. In the Everglades, such habits could destroy nests, disturb breeding areas, and damage fragile soil systems that support aquatic life. Instead of restoring order, they might make the chaos worse. History proves the danger of such ideas. The cane toad in Australia was brought in to fight beetles, but became a toxic plague. Mongooses introduced to Hawaii to hunt rats ended up wiping out native birds. Each case began with good intentions and ended in ecological disaster. Scientists remind us that nature's balance cannot be changed without consequences. Honey badgers also cannot be easily controlled. They can dig, climb, and even open latches, making escape almost certain. Once free in the wild, they would spread quickly through the vast Everglades. What starts as an experiment could become another permanent invasion, an irreversible mistake in Florida's long battle with invasive species. Legally, introducing non-native animals without deep study and approval violates strict laws like the Lacey Act. These laws exist to prevent experiments that could spiral out of control. Even careful introductions in the past have caused lasting harm and biodiversity loss. For this reason, scientists strongly oppose adding honey badgers to Florida's environment. Predators tend to attack weaker prey. Despite their fierce image, honey badgers would mostly hunt smaller animals, rarely taking on big pythons. Biologists fear that rather than fixing the ecosystem, they would speed up its collapse, wiping out vulnerable species and pushing fragile populations toward extinction. Still, the public fascination continues. Viral videos and online stories have turned honey badgers into symbols of courage and natural revenge. People want to believe in a wild hero who can save the Everglades. Yet no real scientific group supports this idea. It is human to hope for a fearless fix, but ignoring the complexity of nature is dangerous. The myth of the honey badger is powerful, but the Everglades needs care, not quick answers. Real restoration requires patience, understanding, and restraint. A reckless solution could cost far more than the problem it seeks to solve. Even as hope for a natural ally fades under scientific scrutiny, murmurs persist, whispers emerging from the dense swamps, where sightings and signs hint at unexpected changes, still unexplained. The "it's done" rumors and reports. In early 2024, the phrase, "it's done," began spreading mysteriously across social media, sparking wild guesses about Florida's fight against the Burmese python. The short, cryptic words were said to come from a leaked email inside a state wildlife agency. The message read only, "It's done. Results pending. Within hours, forums, videos, and news threads exploded with theories. Had Florida carried out a secret plan against the pythons? And what did "done" mean? Soon after, veteran hunters began finding strange things deep in the Everglades. Torn python carcasses appeared with wounds too clean for gators and too large for bobcats. Muddy banks showed wide claw marks, not matching any known native animal. Some hunters reported glimpses of small, fast creatures darting through sawgrass at night, followed by eerie growls echoing across the swamps. Online communities connected the dots and formed their own explanation. Florida had secretly released honey badgers, famous snake fighters, into closed parts of the Everglades. The story spread fast. People imagined fearless black and white predators attacking python nests in the dark, doing what humans could not. Some called it brilliant, others thought it dangerous. But everyone was fascinated. The mystery deepened when certain areas of the southern Everglades were suddenly closed for habitat recovery operations. Locals suspected otherwise, believing the shutdowns were meant to hide the truth. Drone videos showed striped figures moving through mangroves. Hunters traded tales of strange roars and tracks. Every rumor made the legend grow. Officials dismissed it all as fabricated nonsense, calling the email fake. But "it's done" took on a life of its own. A symbol of hope, curiosity, and frustration. No one knew if it marked an end, a success, or a misunderstanding. The lack of answers became part of the mystery. In the Everglades, where myth and fact often blur, "it's done" felt more like a whisper than a statement. Reports soon followed claiming python captures had dropped in certain areas. Scientists warned against concluding from early data, but the public was ready to believe. Memes and online posts celebrated the honey badger army as heroes of the swamp. Whether real or not, the idea became a modern legend, a wild and defiant story of nature fighting back. Locals near the Everglades added to the tale. Some said they heard low growls at night, sounds no native animal could make. Others described flashes of black and white shapes slipping through the brush under moonlight. In bars and bait shops, stories of shredded snakes and unseen predators became common talk. Even some trappers joked that if a new creature was eating pythons, they were fine with it. Journalists tried to confirm the claims, but found nothing solid. No photos, no official word, no proof. Yet the story refused to die. It spread through whispers among guides, rangers, and lifelong residents. In the end, whether "it's done" was code, coincidence, or myth no longer mattered. It spoke to something deeper, the belief that the wild might still defend itself. Yet one thing is clear: the battle for Florida's wetlands is far from over, and the lines between myth and reality grow more mysterious every day. What the future holds. The battle against Burmese pythons in Florida's Everglades is far from over. The future remains uncertain as experts continue to test new ways to manage this invasive problem. Some suggest genetic control, hormone treatments to make snakes sterile, and sound-based lures. But these ideas face many challenges, technical, financial, and environmental, that make them hard to use on a large scale in such a vast and complex place. Most scientists agree that wiping out the pythons completely is impossible. The best hope is to control their spread and reduce their numbers. The Everglades ecosystem has already changed deeply, and it may take many years, or never, for balance to return. Many native animals, such as marsh rabbits, raccoons, and birds, have sharply declined. Habitat loss, climate change, and other invasive species add more pressure. The idea that new predators, like honey badgers, could quickly fix the problem is uncertain and could even make things worse. Still, Florida's readiness to try different methods shows both creativity and desperation. The public's interest in stories like the honey badger reflects a desire for bold solutions and shows how serious the challenge is. Dealing with invasive species that reproduce fast and adapt well to new places is never simple. Each new idea must be tested carefully to avoid harming the environment further. The python problem is also a lesson about human choices and their lasting effects. What began with people keeping exotic pets turned into a major environmental disaster. It shows how small actions, like releasing one animal, can have huge global results. Florida's story warns the world about the need for strong laws, public education, and early conservation efforts. It's a reminder that human carelessness, mixed with biological chance, can change nature forever. New technology brings hope. Environmental DNA testing, eDNA, helps scientists detect pythons from traces left in water or soil. Drones with thermal cameras now search areas that were once unreachable. Computer programs may soon predict python movement or nesting. Yet, even with these tools, human work is still essential. Field removal teams, professional hunters, and citizen volunteers remain key to controlling the spread. Public involvement keeps the fight going. Education campaigns encourage responsible pet ownership, prevent illegal releases, and invite people to join removal events. Each report of a python sighting or participation in a hunt adds to the broader goal of restoring balance in the Everglades. Scientists and officials agree that balancing restoration with human needs is very hard. The Everglades is not only a wild area, but also part of Florida's culture, economy, and recreation. Managing both nature and human use requires flexible, adaptive strategies that protect native life while supporting tourism and local business. The python invasion shows how unpredictable and strong nature can be. Despite many obstacles, Florida continues with determination. Whether or not natural predators help, this struggle represents humanity's effort to balance progress with care for nature. Florida's python invasion has transformed the Everglades, inspiring both scientific solutions and wild rumors. The idea of releasing honey badgers may be a myth, but the fight for real answers continues in this fragile ecosystem. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and watch the next video shown on the screen for more deep dives into nature's wildest mysteries. What do you think really happened in the Everglades? Let us know your theories in the comments below.